Mtchera Johannes Chirwa has been working at AfDB for almost 13 years. As a Chief Infrastructure and PPP Specialist, he is responsible for providing higher-level policy and strategic advice on regional and continental infrastructure and public-private partnerships to developers, governments, and regional organizations. Assistance with developing, structuring, and preparation for investment financing of multinational transport, energy, ICT, and transboundary water infrastructure projects in the Southern Africa region. Let's meet him.
Morning, Priscilla. Thank you for having me here.
What is your global mission as Chief Infrastructure and PPP Specialist?
Thank you very much, Priscilla, for that. So my role is really to support the team, the department, and basically to help the bank to achieve its global mission for the development of infrastructure in Africa. As you know, this is a key priority for the bank, and therefore my contribution in this aspect is done by leading the development and coordination of programs, projects, and activities that support the advancement and implementation of regional infrastructure projects. These could be at the continental level, so continental priorities. At regional level, all the 5 regions of Africa have their own priorities, so we support that. And also at national level, and this is really to enhance the achievement of the bank's regional infrastructure development objectives. So specifically, my role entails providing, specialized professional advice and support to internal and external clients. Internal, that is bank colleagues, management, senior management on, how the bank should respond. And external are really the bank's clients, member countries, development organizations and partners, on how to really successfully develop, structure, and implement regional infrastructure projects and programs. And this could be through either public finance or through a combination or public-private partnerships, PPP. In addition, I also provide leadership in terms of the bank's policy and strategic dialogue. So the bank engages partners and member countries and stakeholders in policy and strategic dialogue on how to develop, the infrastructure, programs and projects, and also in the development of PPP. So I do provide leadership and advice on that in that aspect as well.
How do you create a bankable project?
So a bankable project, or really a project, becomes bankable when it's been prepared well enough. When it's had sufficient development, so in terms of the technical preparation, analysis, economic, financial, environmental, and social. So all these studies help to inform a potential investor in the project on the benefits of that investment. So by supporting these projects to undertake these preparation and development studies, it helps to bring more projects ready for financing. So basically, a financier can look at that project and decide that, yes, this project is bankable, or meaning I can put money, invest money into this project for its development because it's able to demonstrate the potential benefits of that investment. So basically, that's how it works. We support development of all the aspects of the project to be able to demonstrate why an investor should put money into that project.
And how do you balance portfolio project between ICT, energy, water, transport sectors?
Yeah, that's not easy to speak because clearly we can see a trend in that over the past couple of years, there's a higher demand in terms of infrastructure development in Africa in specific sectors. And these are particularly transport and energy sectors. And there's a good reason for that, because these are the sectors that have the highest need and are lagging behind in terms of the infrastructure gap. So in terms of the demand that we see, those are the largest sectors. However, in the work that we do, we try and ensure that we have sufficient consideration also for the other sectors. So we prepare an annual work program that will look at all the demand that we have. It will look at all the sectors, interesting projects or priority projects in all the sectors, and be able to balance based on the resources that we have available for commitment to support those projects, but also ensure that all the sectors are covered really in terms of priority. But also we look at a regional to ensure that all the regions of Africa also are developing.
And could you please tell us about one of your ongoing projects?
Yeah, so I'm managing a number of projects in many sectors, in all the 4 sectors, but in mostly the East and Southern Africa regions. And so all of them are quite important and interesting. But for purposes of this discussion, I can talk about one particular project, which is the Lesotho-Botswana water transfer project, for which we are currently supporting the development of detailed feasibility studies. This is the second stage, which we are supporting this project. It's a priority project in the Southern Africa region, in Africa. And it's a collaboration between 4 countries who are part of the Orange Senku River Basin. These are Lesotho, South Africa, Botswana, and Namibia. And so this particular project, the Lesotho-Botswana water transfer, it seeks to develop a dam in Lesotho, what we call the Lesotho lowlands, and then through that dam be able to transfer water through South Africa all the way to Botswana, and this will be a distance of about 712 kilometers. So the project is quite important because it will help development potentially of hydropower at the dam site, but also will be able to provide water for the 3 countries along the way, for agricultural use, irrigation, for domestic use, and potentially also industrial use. And particularly for Botswana, where the transfer pipeline or the water transfer scheme will end up. Botswana is quite a dry country, it's arid, and has got a number of development projects that are demanding huge requirements for water in both the mining, agro-processing, and other sectors. So we believe that development of this project will have a very, very positive impact for the region, the sub-region, and for the countries involved. And so it's a priority also in the Program for Infrastructure Development, PIDA, the second phase of PIDA PAP2.
PIDA PAP2, very important. What is the new approach of the bank to get foreign and African private sector in?
Yeah, so I mean, attracting investment in Africa is really a fundamental need. Because we have seen over the years that in order to develop the continent, financing from public sector or traditional sources, as we call them, only is not adequate. And therefore, we are doing our best, to support African countries to attract more investment, particularly for the development of infrastructure, both foreign and local, of course. To help close the infrastructure gap. So the bank does this in a number of ways. We support the upstream development of an enabling environment that will help countries to make sure that their own investment climate is conducive and is attractive. So the regulatory and legal framework in the country will support investment. Secondly, we provide, of course, loans and grants, that will support upstream work in terms of development of projects, but also midstream in terms of structuring projects and making them ready for investment, but also downstream in terms of project financing. So the bank provides all that. We are also looking at more innovative ways of how to finance projects. So, for example, we are promoting or supporting the use of blended financing as a way to scale up investment from various potential sources, including the private sector. We're also looking at new ways that have been applied in other regions of the world and could be applicable in Africa, such as what we call asset recycling, where governments could concession out existing assets to private sector, and that those resources that are recovered can then be used or reinvested in new projects. We also supporting the use of bonds, infrastructure bonds, climate financing, subnational lending is also one area where we are now able in certain countries to look at provincial or municipal level lending for specific projects that qualify, but also supporting these countries and developers to structure their projects through public-private partnerships. As a matter of fact, the bank is just finalizing the development of its own strategic framework for public-private partnerships, which will see the bank scaling up and having a more focused approach to support development of PPPs for upstream development, enabling environment and building capacity, midstream for project preparation of PPP projects, as well as structuring for the market, and as well as the downstream phase, which is project financing, whether be it of the special purpose vehicle that will be created to develop the project, but also helping countries to close their own gap in terms of making the project more viable for financing.
The pandemic, all economies are weakened. In your opinion, what will happen in the next future?
The pandemic is a big impediment, or has had a big effect in terms of impacting the development of Africa, and infrastructure is one sector that's actually seen this impact. As we know, a lot of countries have had to refocus their priorities, and divert resources towards fighting the pandemic, healthcare, social support, ensuring that their own people, their citizens, are protected from this pandemic. So, as a result, most of the development plans for infrastructure have suffered as a result because of fiscal resources. The development of being a catalyst, for rebuilding our economies post-COVID, because the development of infrastructure will help to more favorable environments going forward. But also we see the use of innovative financing like PPPs becoming more attractive post-COVID, because then limited resources that governments have can be focused in other priority sectors, whilst we make projects more attractive for private sector investment. But we also believe and structuring of projects should ensure that they are designed in a way to reduce future shocks from pandemics such as this or other unforeseen circumstances, so that they're more resilient and sustainable, and that the design of future projects should learn from the experience that we've seen over COVID, and therefore have a more human focus, think about inclusiveness, and make sure that actually we build back better and greener, by aligning key priorities in the development of countries, but also lessons learned out of the COVID pandemic. So we're quite optimistic in terms of the future. Countries will be able to rebuild, will get out of this pandemic, and will be able to refocus their priorities and use additional tools and instruments and innovation to build back better.
Thank you for this positive word. It's the end of the interview. Mtchera Johannes Chirwa, thank you.
Thank you very much, Priscilla. It was a pleasure talking to you, and all the best for the rest of the day.